Hello everyone, this is Angela and welcome to my channel, Angie the ENTJ. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click on the notifications bell so you'll know whenever I upload any new content. I have observed that a lot of people see their lives from a philosophical lens, and hey, that is perfectly fine. Many philosophies are centered around being a nice person, being a pleasant person, doing things for intangible benefits. Again, this is totally perfectly fine. However, people often do not pair their philosophies with numbers or other type of practical data. And an unfortunate result that I have observed of this behavior is that more often than not, it takes people a very long time and lots of missed opportunities to see the flaws in their philosophical views, let alone do anything to guard themselves against the consequences. So in today's video, I would like to go over an interactive that was created by the United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women, also known in a short term, UN Women, okay? What I love about this UN Women Interactive is that it helps people, especially women, to understand the value of their uncompensated work that they are performing on a daily basis. And it does so by comparing the sizes and seaworthiness of boats, which is symbolic of our individual ability to weather the storms of life. It doesn't use too many numbers. However, through the use of comparisons, it is easy for the average person to understand. I will include the link to this interactive article in the description box, so be sure to share this video with others so that they too can see their worth in an objective manner and hopefully make decisions that will empower themselves. So as we navigate this interactive, it takes us to this first screen. And there's a quote, and I'm going to read it. It says, "From domestic chores to caring for loved ones around the world, people collectively spend 16 billion hours on unpaid care every day." End quote. Just to put it into perspective, everyone, there are only 8 billion people on the planet. Okay? And yes, men and women alike do care work, but the majority of it is performed by women. And less than half of the 8 billion people on the planet, less than half of the population are us girls and women, from the ages of newborn to the ages of elderly. For most women, their care work is another full-time job, and they do it without compensation. So going back to the interactive, it continues on to say that the backbone of thriving families, communities, and economies, this work falls largely on women, and it even increases in times of crisis. There is one universal truth. When it comes to unpaid work, not everybody is in the same boat. And this is what I like about it so much. So it goes on further to ask, what does your boat look like? Let's find out. So as you proceed through with the interactive, you can pick an avatar. Me, I picked the lady on the left who's wearing a dress. I also like the fact that the avatars are diverse enough for everyone to be able to participate. So once you pick your avatar, it takes you to a place where you select the unpaid chores that you would typically perform within a week's time. Above the chores is an oar that you would use to row your boat. I did it earlier before I decided to do this video. As you can see, the more chores you have to perform, the smaller your oar becomes, and vice versa. The reason is because a larger oar means that you can propel a heavier load more easily, whereas a shorter oar would means that you would struggle to propel that same load. The next page asks you, how many tasks do you perform at the same time? You know, this is about multitasking. And it uses the size of a sail on a boat in order to help you to understand how this is personally impacting you. As you select each task, or deselected, it changes the size of your cell. So basically, what it's showing you is that the less tasks that you have to perform simultaneously with other tasks, the bigger your cell becomes, which means that you have more time to capture opportunities represented as the wind. You have more time to spend on each task versus having to juggle them simultaneously and miss out on other opportunities. Now, it also shows that the more tasks you have to perform at the same time, such as cooking, laundry, child rearing, calling customer service, and sorting out bills and that kind of stuff, setting up insurance programs, setting up doctor's appointments, and so forth, as well as other forms of multitasking, the smaller your cell becomes, which is a demonstration of having less energy and less opportunities. Okay? As we proceed forward, it takes us to the actual boat that we're sailing in itself. And right now, the boat above currently appears like a motorboat with a cabin. So what it's representing is that if it begins to rain, you have some protection and a comfortable place to wait out the storm. This represents how you divide up your day between unpaid and paid labor, sleep, and other activities. The more unpaid labor and less sleep that you have, your boat becomes slightly smaller, and vice versa. So the more sleep you have, the less unpaid labor you're performing, the more comfortable your boat is, right? So what it is also saying is that the larger your boat, the greater your ability to make it through the storm. However, having less sleep and doing more unpaid tasks shrinks your boat, which makes it more likely to capsize. Okay? The capsizing can appear in the form of poor health, lost opportunities, and so forth. So right now, based on the choices that I have made for this avatar, I have a smaller boat that is prone to capsizing with a smaller oar that cannot row a heavy load, and a small sail that can only capture few opportunities. And if this is not insightful enough, as we go ahead, it proceeds in showing you the effect of how you spend your Saturdays or whatever your day is, or whatever your off day is. And if you notice, this boat, representing my avatar, now has some additional cargo on it. When I see this woman in a small boat tugging another boat behind her, it immediately reminds me of many adult daughters who may be single and child-free, or who may be single moms. Okay? It reminds me of many sisters, aunties. It could be married women, like in the video I did not too long ago, where the guy was trying to get his wife to agree to caring for his grandmother in their home.
Okay, no, you take care of me and family, the kids. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I
but
do.
our grandma needs to stay here too. All you need to listen. This is what my mom told me. All she need to do. This is her routine. All she need to do is we wake up in the morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, fix her breakfast.
I don't care about your grandmother's schedule. You need to.
I'm gonna tell you her schedule because when I go to work, you're taking care of her. Listen, at 8 o'clock in the morning.
How you gonna tell me what I'm gonna do when you go to work? Like I don't have no job. Like I don't have no life. Like, no, I'm not doing that. She's not staying here. That room is staying storage.
I'm not
gonna hear. What is that else? If you cared about your grandmother like you say you do, you gonna put her in a certified home.
I don't got no.
You know, it kind of reminds me of women in these situations within a family dynamic. And it shows how she is carrying the load of other people in addition to her own burdens. This interactive is very thorough from the UN. And at this point, it will begin to calculate how many years this avatar will spend of her life on uncompensated labor. Now, it does the calculation and estimates that if I were this avatar, I would spend 14 years straight of my life on uncompensated labor that benefits my family along with the society at large without any tangible benefits to myself. This represents the average woman, especially the average American woman. It does not stop there. This UN Interactive goes on to help you to visualize how you and your boat compare to other people and their boats. So as you can see, the global average that women spend on uncompensated labor is 10 years of our lives. Men, by comparison, only spend about 4 years. So women are spending more than nearly 2.5 times the amount of men globally on unpaid labor. So globally, women have smaller boats to use to navigate the same oceans of life as the average man. Now, if you look at the boat of the man on the right of the page, he has a big sail, he has a cabin, and a very long oar. So he is very secure in his seaworthy vessel. On top of it all, he is in the boat by himself, which demonstrates that his uncompensated labor are providing tangible benefits to himself. However, when you compare him with the woman who is behind him, navigating the same ocean as he is, she has a smaller boat that is prone to capsizing. The boat has a smaller sail, meaning that she is unable to capture opportunities that will help move her forward. And she is using a shorter oar, which signifies having less power to row it. She has no cabin or no shelter from a storm. And on top of it all, she is tugging another boat behind her. Now let's continue. We see here how the C-19 pandemic added to this load by showing that there are choppy waters ahead. And if we think back to 2020, we saw just how many women had to stay home to care for others because of the quarantine. We saw how many women who did work from home had their uncompensated workload increase due to their family members being around during their working hours. So the children were not in school, in front of teachers, and they were not in front of cafeteria workers getting their lunches. The women had to become the teachers. The women had to become the cafeteria workers in addition to working their jobs. Okay. Now this next picture is interesting because it accurately shows how gender roles appear in terms of their economic impact. So on this boat is a man and a woman. Let's assume that they are married because they are in the same boat. There is a woman at the back of the boat with her oar in the water, right? And she's rowing away while the man stands at the front and looks out on the horizon, directing her efforts according to his viewpoints. This scene demonstrates a very inconvenient reality of how women are expected to contribute uncompensated time and labor to propel their family's boat forward in life, but are often denied the ability to have executive power over their boat. This is what it looks like when they say that the man is the head of the household, using the boat as an example. She's doing all of the uncompensated labor while he gets to be her overseer. This is what I've talked about when I've compared it with slavery. I call it marital conscription because your labor is valued as a woman, but you are in a system where you are expected to have another person tell you what to do with your free time, where you are expected to obey another person's commands about what you will do with your free time in a way that will benefit them. This is exploitation. In addition to it, if you speak out against your own exploitation and demand better treatment, demand compensation, you may very well face punitive reactions from being socially stigmatized. For instance, that's when you hear our opponents refer to us as feminists and independent women, but they do so in a malignant way, or when domestic violence, what Worm Food referred to as domestic discipline, comes into play, if not worse. This is why you hear so many misogynists say things like, why don't she just shut up, and why is she always talking? Just feed me and shut the up. Isn't that right, Chris Rock?
Women want every fucking thing. Women act like life is just a big sale and shit. I want to get the most shit before things close down. That's how fucking life is to a woman. Everything. You know what men want? Do you know what men want? Food, sex, silence. That's it. That's it. Food, sex, silence. Feed me, fuck me, shut the fuck up. Feed me, fuck me, shut the fuck up. Feed me, fuck me, shut the fuck up.
Look at where he's at now. Listen, time is money. And if you are using your time to do anything, look at it as the equivalent of paying money for something. And like when you go into a store with your money to make a purchase, there should be tangible benefits added to your personal life for your uncompensated labor, similar to how a direct deposit adds value into your own bank account. So what this interactive is showing is how it affects you when you perform uncompensated labor without tangible benefits to yourself or without any reciprocity. On another note, it is also helping you to see, if you want to go back to the example of the man with his own boat and his own oar, and his boat had a cabin on it, it's also showing you the effect of what happens when you abandon that little small boat that's prone to capsizing and use your time and energy on things which are guided by your own objectives as opposed to someone else's. So as we can see, let's proceed forward. This scene shows the consequences that uncompensated care work has on women, including the impact to our physical and mental health. It also shows that uncompensated care work leads women to generally work longer hours when compared to men, the stress that it causes, the education and employment opportunities that are lost as a result of performing uncompensated tasks. And as you can see by now, she has lost her boat and she's just drifting on a life preserver in choppy waters during a storm. That despite all of the care and the labor that she has performed without compensation, that she will have no tangible benefits. As a matter of fact, she needs to be rescued by someone who will pull her weight on their own boat, and this is usually going to be another woman. Now let's sit here for a second. How many women do you know in this situation? It's going to just take one thing before they're drowning, even though they spent the majority of their lives doing uncompensated labor. Think about it. Okay, so let's go forward. Now where we're at, it goes on to show the solutions, which includes acknowledging first that care work is not exclusively meant for women to perform. It suggests that everyone pull their own weight as individuals. Additionally, and from a larger perspective, it shows the solutions which are, surprise, these solutions are that we need to create sustainable infrastructures globally. It's not as big of an issue here in the US as it is in other parts of the world, where women are still trekking down to the river to collect water. They're still going out and chopping down wood so that they can cook food. You know, we don't have to deal with it that much here in the US. However, the next one is something that the US is definitely far behind on, and that is the investment into public care services. We are in dire need of affordable daycare, affordable senior care, as well as care for other vulnerable persons. We absolutely need affordable housing as well. And another solution that is presented is universal paid parental leave, which enables parents to share the uncompensated labors in caring for their newborns. There are also links at the end of this interactive where you can obtain more information, as well as inviting you to join the hashtag Generation Equality movement. I will leave the link to this interactive within the description so that you can use it to understand how your boat appears and where you can see whether or not you are appearing like my avatar in this example, who was eventually floating on a lifesaver. My goal using this interactive and bringing it to your attention is that I want you all to have a yacht with a cabin, motor engines, Wi-Fi, you know what I'm saying? So, and not a sailboat with an oar. Some of you, if we're being honest, you all are floating like messages in bottles and are wondering why you're working so hard, but you are not getting ahead. This interactive will help you to see its impact on you. Overall, I think that this UN Women's Interactive will help people in general to see the need to put services into play so that the average citizens within nations do not have to rely on overburdening women and absorbing our free time in order to keep the fabric of society glued together. In addition to this, women, we work and we pay taxes. And an increasing number of us women are out earning men in different parts of the United States, which means that we are the ones paying the higher amounts of taxes. Considering that taxes are intended to pay for things that benefit the broader society, it is time that we step up and demand more, either in terms of what the tax dollars are being used for, or we need to lessen the amount of uncompensated tasks that we are performing. It is estimated that the average American woman performs more than $200,000 worth of uncompensated labor each year that benefits her family and her community at large. This is more than what average American citizens, men and women alike, are earning on their jobs. Most American women are working jobs and bringing in cash salaries. And on top of it all, they are performing $200,000 of unpaid tasks each and every year, on average. I'm talking about an average American woman living in an apartment, who goes to work every day and comes home and has to cook, clean, do laundry, you name it. Over time, if she was adequately compensated, that would amount to more than $200,000 that she's not earning. So whatever your current salary is at the moment, add to it at least $200,000. Okay? It's more, the more educated you are, the more skills you are, it could number into the millions. But for right now, let's just say $200,000. And that's how much work you are performing. So if you're making $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year in cash, the type of task that you're performing means that your labor is worth $260,000, $270,000, $280,000 a year. Okay? Now ask yourself, can you tangibly see, are there things that you can touch which reflect your annual salary from your job, plus at least another $200,000 on top of it all? Do you have a solid retirement plan? Do you have health insurance? Do you have health benefits that will cover your expenses up until the time that you transition, including if you will need to be placed into a nursing home? If not, then now is the time for you to change it up and to stop using your free time to row other people's burdens or to tug their boats along with your own. This is because the end result will be that you will need to be rescued. And typically that's going to be by another woman who's behaving just like you are right now. And dare I say it, going back to the woman who is now floating on a life preserver, if you look very closely, a lot of older black women who have no good sons, that's them. They're floating on a life preserver, okay? And if you date their son, you're going to have someone that expects to direct how you row your boat and to tug his weight along with the weight of his mother along with you. Okay? Think about it. So going back to what I was saying earlier, this UN Women's Interactive article helps us to see why, as a society, we need to address the pink elephant in the room, which is a dire need for us to develop programs to address daycare, elder care, care of highly vulnerable disabled people in a way that gives the average citizen access to trained professionals who can assist them. There is also a dire need to give vulnerable people and families access to affordable housing and programs that will ensure that they will be able to afford the proper nutrition. I like the fact of how this interactive demonstrates the reality of there only being 24 hours in a day, and it also shows how women are not benefiting from this uncompensated labor. In fact, we are suffering the consequences in terms of poor health and needing to be rescued by others because we are so busy caring for everyone else that we missed opportunities to ensure that our boats will be seaworthy enough to weather the storms of life. And it also shows how we will end up becoming a weight for others, usually other women, to struggle with and to tug along with their burdens. I've always felt like it's okay to be nice and benevolent and generous. That's fine. However, I also believe that it is all right to receive compensation for those nice and benevolent labors because there are only 24 hours in a day. There are already programs such as being a foster parent that recognizes this, and I'm only speaking of the good foster parents, by the way. Take the best foster parent in the United States. They may go out of their way to ensure that the children in their care are going to be as wholesome as they can, okay? Even they receive a stipend for providing vulnerable children a safe and secure place to live. So, with that in mind, let me know what you think and please share the video. That's all I have to say for now. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click on the notifications bell so that you'll know whenever I upload any new content. Take care until next time.